We are doing this video as a request from a subscriber and a commenter to the show. And I think this will be a good video for a lot of truckers. I think this is a good video for a lot of people, period. This covers a lot of different situations, not just trucking, just job related, life related, emotions, and goals, a lot of different things. So I want to read this guy's comment and then I want to respond to it in this video. He asked a question about being forced to do something that he didn't want to do in trucking. His comment was, can you do a video on dispatchers demanding that you drive in unsafe conditions where you feel tired or driving through hurricanes or intense storms and demand that you must do it or else you will be fired? Like the YouTube channel Run Hard, Get Paid. I'm not familiar with that channel. I'll be honest with you. I don't know that. I didn't look it up, so I don't know what he's talking about with that. Can you do a video on how to deal with those things, or if you have experienced anything like that? Well, yes, I will do a video. I'm doing it now. And yes, I have experienced stuff like that myself, for sure. I want to give you a couple of examples myself. I started in 2000. 99.9% of people in trucking, truck drivers, were on paper logs in 2000. I worked until '07, which still was paper logs. And I just got burnt out. I mean, I'll just be honest. It was just go, 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 constant go, and very little breaks, eating bad food, just grabbing something and running, and it just burnt me out, and I just had enough. Here's a thing I want you to always remember with this. Just like a saying that goes around with trucking, leave yourself an out. Have you ever heard that? Look, I want to show you something right here. There are two trucks. If you can see through my buggy windshield, there's a truck over there, a white truck. There's another truck over here at the side. And there's trailers dropped here. There's a little circle drive. I backed up beside of this building right here. And there's another driver behind me. Okay? He is parked behind me. When he pulled up right beside of me right here, and I said, "Don't park there." And he just looked at me and said, "What?" And I said, "Don't park there." Okay. Now, some people might say, well, that was being rude of me. No, it's because I was here for a reason, because I was leaving myself an out in case I needed to leave, or something happened, or they tell me to wake up and get a door. I wanted to leave myself an out. The same thing with what you're talking about here. What is something that trucking companies want from drivers? They want hard runners, hard workers, people that's going to get out and do what this company tells you to do, and don't backtalk and don't say no. Why do you think they're pushing for automated trucks so hard? Because the automated trucks don't say no. They just go and go and go. That's what they want from us. They want robots. That's why I've always said on this channel, we need to be united and stand together so we can be one voice and push back and say no. how do you keep yourself from being trapped in a situation you don't want to be in? Leave yourself an out. Don't get yourself in a financial bind to where you feel like you're forced to do something against your will. That's why I'm wanting to do these videos about stocks and investing. I want to do a video about budgeting money, something that truck drivers for years have sucked at, is budgeting money. They don't like doing it. They want to get paid. 90% of the people in this world, they want to just get paid and go blow their money. They don't want to sit down and do it in a calculated way to where this money goes to bills, this money goes into a savings account, this is the money I have to spend. They don't want to do it that way. They want to get paid and go blow it, do what we want to do, and then you're back into a truck driving job where you're forced to do what the trucking company tells you to do. I had a trucking company owner tell me years and years ago, the best driver I could find to put in a truck is someone that is buried in debt, that owes child support, that has a huge house payment, and has a spouse that is, blowing their money. I love that because I can get a lot of work out of that person. They don't have a choice. They have to run. And that's what I want. And I was thinking, what a jerk. What a jerk to treat someone like that. That's where I would like to come along with this channel and help people to overcome that, to where you can be more financially responsible and mentally stable, to where you don't have to be like that. My wife could testify to this. I could speak on her behalf. I promise you, she knows this about me. No one is going to tell me and demand and force me to do something that I don't want to do. I promise you. I promise you that will not happen with me. It just won't. I like truck driving. Now, is it all roses and perfume and greatness every day of the week? No, there's a lot of days it really sucks. It really sucks. It's horrible. But there's other days that it's really, really good. You've got to take the good and the bad. Overall, it's not that bad. Could it be better? Absolutely. I guess one thing about me that is different than a lot of newer truck drivers is a lot of newer truck drivers didn't experience how bad it used to be in trucking. I've told the story over and over on this channel. I used to run on a truck with my brother-in-law. It's an old 76 model, 1976 Freightliner cab over. The air conditioner had been worked on 100 times in that truck, and they couldn't get it to work. Everything had been completely replaced on that truck over and over, and it would just go down the road, freeze up, wouldn't work. They would bring it into the shop, tear it all back down, fix it back up, and there was something about that truck and that air conditioner, it wouldn't work. Do you not think it was hard to sleep in that truck in the summertime when it was so hot and you were so exhausted from running and you were on paper logs? It was hard. It was way harder than what it is now. This feels like a Cadillac. This Freightliner I have, it's a company truck, but this thing feels like a Cadillac compared to that 76 model cab over. That thing didn't even have airbags on it. It had just straight spring suspension. The only air ride on it was the driver's seat. That was it. The passenger seat was bolted to the floor. It was a little, just a little jump seat. Very little cushion in it, bolted to the floor. And I still liked riding. I wasn't driving back then. I was a teenager, but I still liked riding and seeing stuff. Just pouring with sweat in the passenger seat. In the summertime, I rode in the summertime when I was out of high school, and I loved it. And I got addicted to trucking. Can it be better? Anything can always be improved. I guess my answer to your question is, if you feel like you're being forced to do something, and I'm saying this in the best way I can possibly say it without offending you, maybe it's not them, maybe it's you. And I don't mean to really just run you down like that. And let me explain what I mean. What's going on with you that you feel like you have to work for that company, that you have to put up with that? Have you checked with other trucking companies to see if there's something better? Are you in an area to where that one trucking company is the only company you can work for? Have you looked for a way out? I've had to ask myself these questions before too. That's why I'm bringing them up to you. When I first started trucking, I went to school at MS Carriers back in 2000. I went to their truck driving school. I found out because my trainer was on a dedicated run. That means that he picked up from the same facility every week, went out and delivered the load, and came back, with a backhaul, dropped it off, and went back to that same facility to get reloaded for the next week. They told me at MS Carriers, since I was new and I just got out of school, that I had to be over the road and spend, 3 to 5 weeks at a time out over the road. My trainer said, stick with your guns. Stick to it. And don't back down. They're going to tell you this, but since you are being trained on a dedicated run with me, you can be on a dedicated account. That's the way MS Carriers worked. And when they called me up, I got off the truck with my trainer, and this was 20-something years ago. They said, we need you to go out. You're going to be out over the road 3 to 5 weeks at a time. And I said, nope, not doing it. I want on a dedicated account. And the guy laughed at me and he said, you just got out of school. That's for our more experienced drivers. That's for drivers that's been here longer. You're not qualified for that. And I'd say, okay, well, when a position comes up, and call me back. And you could tell the change in his voice. He was like, it doesn't work like that. You have to do what we tell you to do. And I'd say, nope, not. When a dedicated position opens up, let me know. And they were like, okay, well, we'll call you back in a couple of days. And I'd say, okay, cool. Did I really, really need that job? Yes, I did. I really, really needed that job. But I took my trainer's advice and I stuck to it, and I would not budge. Guess what happened? After a few calls, they offered me a dedicated job and said, do you want this job? You'll leave out every Sunday. You'll be back home every Friday. You'll have every weekend off. You will have, your own truck that is just for you. It won't be slip seat or anything. Do you want the job? And I said, sure. That's what I'll do. I worked for them for 3 years until they sold out for Swift, sold out to Swift, and Swift come in and said they were going to change everything. They're going to end the dedicated account. They're going to pull the speed of my truck down. They were going to do this. They were going to do that. And I butted heads with Swift. And I said, you're not going to do this. I'm not going to put up with your rules and regulations. I lost that battle. Swift won. And I just gave them an ultimatum. I said, it will either be the way I want it to be or I'll go home. And they were like, bye, you can go home. Why? Because Swift had more options than I did. They had a stack of applications of drivers ready to go to work for them. They weren't going to put up with me. They weren't going to put up with my demands. That's why I like working for smaller companies. That's why I like working for smaller trucking companies. This company here, 25 drivers. That's it. That's all they've got. And I've had my run-ins with this company before, several times. You know, I walked into the office one day and was telling them, you know, I'm just not doing this anymore. You know, I'm running. I'm not getting enough sleep. I'm not doing this. I'm doing this against my will. I'm not going to do it. And they immediately backed off and said, whoa, why didn't you come talk to us when you saw that you had a problem? We can change things. We can rearrange things. You don't have to get mad. I think there's a key there. You can be confident without being arrogant. There's two different things there. Confidence is one thing. Arrogance is just being a jerk and yelling and spewing venom and just being angry. You know. And I've had my run-ins of being angry before. Lots of times. Lots of times. What is best, in my opinion, is just to stick with your morals and your values. Get what you want out of it. Leave yourself an out. Leave yourself money in your account. Leave you a cushion to where you don't feel stressed, to where you don't feel obligated to do something. Like I said in my last video, that's why I parked my owner-operator truck. It got to the point where more money was going out than money coming in. I just saw everything falling and falling, and I said, that's it. You know, something's got to stop here. This is getting too crazy. So that was it, and it stopped. Would I rather go back to being an owner-operator, booking my own loads and setting my own rates and setting my own home time? Absolutely. But trucking is just so confused right now. We've got so many people in trucking. You don't ever hear about a driver shortage anymore, do you? Because we've got more trucks and more drivers than we have freight. Is getting less of an option and more of what you're talking about here in this comment of doing what the companies demand for us to do. They've got the upper hand. The brokers have the upper hand. The shippers and the receivers have the upper hand. And that's why I'm advocating on this channel that we need to send illegals and immigrants back, because they have flooded this industry. They have run the rates into the ground, and they're not leaving us with a way out. They're just running trucking into the ground. And that's not what we have spent 30 years or so in trucking to build up, to have it just run into the ground. look, trucking is not for everybody. And if you're to the point with this comment that you feel like you don't have a way out, don't sit there. Don't sit there and be like that. You don't have to be arrogant. You don't have to just bust through the doors and scream and yell and throw stuff. Be confident in yourself and say, this doesn't work for me. And maybe it's not trucking. Maybe it's your specific job in trucking. You know, I've been lucky. I mean, I've really been lucky because of where I live, you know, in the they call it the Mid-South area, around the Memphis area. There's so many truck driving jobs there that you don't have to put up with a lot of crap. If you don't like a job and it's not doing what you want it to do, you just go somewhere else. I've just been in a lucky area. I know not all areas of the United States are that way. There's very limited jobs. There's very limited truck driving jobs. So you don't have those options like that. But don't leave yourself in a vulnerable situation to where you have to do what they tell you to do. That's my best advice for you. That's what I would tell myself. You know, have I made mistakes? Absolutely. Have I been in a situation where I feel like I was forced to do something? Yes, but I only did it for a short amount of time until I could get on my feet to do what I wanted to do again. And with this job, you know, this is my third company driving job since I parked my owner operator truck a year and a half ago. This is the third company I've worked for. The first company, they didn't want to listen. They didn't want to listen to what I had to say. I was telling them what their problem was with the company. They agreed that that's what was wrong. I was telling them this is what you could do to help fix it. That company only had, I think, 14 trucks, really small company. And they agreed that this was a problem. And they agreed that it needed to be fixed. But they were not willing to fix it. And I finally just put my foot down and I just went in and I said, look, if you want me to do this job and you want me to put forth this effort in this job to do what you want me to do, and it's dumb what you're wanting me to do, then you're going to pay me. And I demanded a raise and they refused. And they said, we're not doing that. That is absolutely out of the question. My last thing I said to them, sounds like to me you don't want me here any more than I want to be here. And they just nodded their head and said, okay. And I turned around and walked out. Had no clue where I was going to go next. Had no clue where I was going to go next. Hadn't even started looking for a job. And guess what? Within a couple of weeks, I had another job. That second company had a bunch of issues too. It was really the opposite of the first company. It paid more per mile. I had a nicer truck. It was a more structured company that was ran really efficiently, but they didn't have any runs. Every time I would call in to say something, I don't know. We're going to have to look and try to find you something. We'll come to the yard and just sit. Well, I don't get paid to just sit. I know. Let's see what we could do. And they were just too much rule and too much regulation and too much structure. But there was no work. And I just pretty much told them, you know, it's great that you pay more and you've got a nice facility and you got a nice truck, but I can't make it on the kind of money you have for me. And they said, well, you'll deal with it. And I said, no, I won't. So I walked out of that job too. That's where I found this company. Is it perfect? No. You'll never find a perfect trucking company. You'll never find a perfect job. You never will. There will always be something wrong. But if it's to the point where you just can't handle it, and they're not listening to you, and they're saying, if you don't do it, you'll be fired, I would be ahead of that. I would be ahead of that, and I would tell them, if you don't change, if you don't do what I want you to do, if you don't do it to where I'm not stressed out and I don't feel like I'm being pushed, then I'll quit. That's what I would tell them. That's why I don't want to work for mega carriers. Because mega carriers, 99% of them, are not going to listen. They don't care. They've got a stack of applications this high. You're just another application. If you quit or you get fired or whatever happens, they pull another application and throw another person in the seat, and off they go. Plus, on top of that, they have the unfair advantage of being a mega carrier. They don't do just trucking. They do logistics. They do warehouse. They rent trailers. They rent trucks. They have real estate that they rent out or sell. I mean, a big mega trucking company is not just trucking. It is, hit my mic. There's all kinds of things to these mega carriers that make them click. So, it sounds to me like you're working for a mega carrier, and you may not be. But my thing would be, just don't put up with their bullcrap. Look for a smaller company to work for. Look for a more stable company to work for. Look for something that you want to do. And you may be going through a period with this company for a little while. I've said it on this channel before, because of the situation the country's in and the situation trucking is in, we may just have to hold on to what we have until things get better. And that sucks. I think if all of us had a paid for house, a paid for vehicle, and $200,000 in the bank, I don't think a single truck driver would be out here. Unless you were just bored and wanting something to do. I don't think anyone would be out here doing it. So strive for that. That's why I'm wanting to do these videos about stocks and everything, to give another way of creating revenue than just trucking. Now, will it work? I don't know. We're going through this stock thing together, but we'll see how it works out. And if it doesn't work out and it doesn't show that it's, showing a profit, or, we can't figure it out together, then try something else. It was Thomas Edison, I think, was the one that said that. I never failed at inventing the light bulb. I never failed inventing the light bulb. I just found 10,000 ways that wouldn't work. That's what I'm saying about this mentality thing, If at first you don't succeed, try again. I can't tell you how many truck driving jobs I've had. A lot. A lot. And a lot of the truck driving companies I used to work for are no longer in business. I couldn't go back to work for them if I wanted to because they're gone. So look at it that way. You get out of it what you want, because trucking companies are going to come and they're going to go, and the trucking industry is going to go up and it's going to go down. Don't ever be in the situation where you feel like your back's against the wall and you don't have a way out. Even if that is the case, there was an old saying a long time ago, I think it was back in the 70s, long time ago, never let them see you sweat. You could be terrified inside. You could be absolutely just to your breaking point inside. But don't let other people know that. Just walk around with your head up high and smile, and everything's fine. And your whole world is collapsing around you. As long as you're working to make it better, eventually it will get better. Eventually it will get better. This downturn caught me offhand. I thought I could keep up with it with my owner-operator truck. I thought I could keep it all together, and it didn't. There's a commenter on this channel that likes to rub it in and tell me that I'm angry because I failed and everything. And I will prove him wrong. You know why? Because I'm not an angry person and I'm not a failure. Tell yourself that. You are not a failure. You just haven't found what works yet. You just haven't found what works yet. And if you're a good truck driver and you've got a clean record and you're an experienced truck driver, get what you want out of it. So hopefully that helped you. Hopefully that answers some questions for you. I don't know. But anyway, you guys take care of yourself, look out for one another, and we will catch you on the next one.